Hello. Please feast your eyes while I read from some notes I made. Yesterday evening, I saw a video from the Fimble channel. I don't know his name, but I know he is German, although my wife points out he definitely looks Norwegian. Fimble is a great channel. It isn't big wow with whiz bangs a go-go, but it is solid content. I recommend. So, on the video in question, the man I shall call Fimble, although that is in fact the name of his channel, and also his blog, which is how, by the way, I was first acquainted with the man. So, on the video in question, Fimble showed a knife he just made, and that's where my notes give up. So, what Mr. Fimble said was something like, I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you have an idea and you can't sleep all night and you just have to do it. Something like that. Well, I have had that kind of experience. So that pricked my ears up. And then he showed this little knife that he made. And I thought it looked great. And I will recommend that you go and check out the video on the Fimble channel of the knife in question. It's a little whittling knife. Has a handle kind of shaped like a bottle, like an upside down bottle, almost to my mind, a port bottle, and the blade is a wicked little triangle of high speed saw steel. And I thought, wow, I've never really quite seen the like. And in fact, he was saying how the having the thin end of the handle there was very comfortable for the ring and pinky finger. And I thought back to how I made this knife for Captain Electro, and it had a thin end on it like that, and he said it cramped his hand. But anyway, I like the look of what he did, and I thought, well, I'm definitely going to have to try and make myself something like this, right? You know, maybe a little after my own style, but he even put a lilac handle on it, and he mentioned me in the video. So I picked out a piece of lilac wood, and I started whittling a handle. And I have here the remnants or the offcuts of the lilac wood. So it was this piece and then that. And that was the end of it. So yeah, lilac wood, it does tend to crack a lot. But it's so hard and it's so beautiful and it smells so good when you work it. It just smells wonderful. So I whittled out the handle. And along the way, I was reminded that I had seen maybe one knife that was not entirely dissimilar, in fact, to the knife that Fimble was showing, although this part here is kind of rounded, whereas on this knife here, it's very square. And the blade is a lot shorter, but it has this kind of wickedly pointy triangular thing. Now, this knife, pretty sure I've shown it at some point on my channel, but I never sharpened it until today. And this blade is alive. This is an awesome knife. I love it. Ski and do. There's your balance point. There's your file work and your distal taper. Flat grind with these fullers. I cut my way. Joseph Rogers, Sheffield. So interesting what's up with this handle. I had some thoughts about this because it has this kind of, yes, this bottle shape, but it also has this. Now, for one thing, I think this goes in your sock, right? The ski undo goes in your sock, so that way this is flush to your leg, and it's not gonna, like you might bash it with your other leg and knock it flying or what have you. Might have happened to me sometimes. So that's smart. However, ergonomically, it also kind of makes sense. I mean, it sits into your palm like that. And if you were to, obviously, this is potentially a stabbing implement, that kind of ramps into your palm and would prevent your hand from sliding up onto the blade. But also in all positions, it actually really works, right? And I'm a sucker for symmetry. I like to whittle slingshots, knife handles, whatever. I try and make things that are kind of symmetrical. That's kind of my aim. I try and get everything to be. This is a little off maybe, but it's not finished. But we're gunning for symmetry always. I say always, but in fact, there may be exceptions. If you've got a chisel grind. So, yeah, here's the knife that I have made over the last 24 hours. And I'm calling this knife the Junior Swedgelord because some time ago I made this knife using a Camillus Swedge knife, and I made it into this kind of Bush Warncliffe brutal thing that works really well. Really, really well. I love it. 420 J2 steel, and you can't believe it. It's one of my favorite knives. That's the kind of the original handle material there, and I did this twine epoxy wrap there, turned it into a kind of a quasi sway back on this kind of quasi, what is it? I thought kind of like make something like a Warncliffe, but whatever. I mean, it's its own beast, really. But yeah, cool knife. Might have to take it out again in a minute. Yes. Might have to take her out again right now. So I just was thinking that this knife is kind of like it's a little bit not too dissimilar. And last night when I whittled the handle in the bath to start out. Right? I cut up my piece of lilac wood. I had this chunk, and I had to take a bath, and I had to go to bed. And I was like, well, I'll try whittling in the bath, and I had this feeling like that's wrong, right? Something seemed wrong about it, whittling in the bath. And the only thing I could think of was that maybe there's like a negative association with people, getting into the warm water with a blade. It's kind of like having a toaster next to your bath or something. But what's the problem, actually? I know water makes things a little more slippery, but I picked my knife, Sodbuster Junior. So I think maybe that's also where the Junior notion popped out from, because one thing leads to another and everything's connected and yada yada, right? So this is a Sodbuster Junior that I also decided very quickly to just kind of sharpen it up, and I kind of mashed it, but I did get it good and sharp. And it's a very interesting, actually, amazing steel. This I think it's S35 VN, but however they treated it or whatever, it felt so soft grinding it, but it performs very well. Now here I over sharpened, but whoops. Now I got a kind of a funny looking blade, but it's it's cool. It's got a recurve. It's got a big spatula kind of belly on it. Looks ugly because of all the scratches and everything. But I had a good time in the bath with this, and the piece of lilac wood got it pretty much to shape. And yeah, today I picked up, and a blade. I already realized, okay, I don't necessarily have exactly the same high-speed steel that Fimble was using, but whatever. By his description, it wasn't that great anyway. But a junk steel that's available. Now I say junk. I paid money for this. This is an old Stanley chisel. I don't know if I've got one. I do, but if you're really interested, you can look on my channel for Stanley, whatever, other videos. I show the original chisels made by Stanley USA in the 1980s, and it uses a flat stock, and they made a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch. So, by the way, I just pulled this out. This is the first knife I ever made, and I believe in the power of the small blade. But it helps if your blade is small to have a good handle on it to grip onto, right? Now, where's something I can cut with this? Okay, this is lilac. This is like over 2,000 Janka hardness. Yeah? And this is an old Solingen straight razor. Yeah. Intuitive duplex grind. See that? Hollow giving way to flat. Lovely knife. So this is a knife made from it. Yeah, that just dripped out of my nose. It's really cold. Shout out to Jimbus Maximus. Thank you for telling me to keep warm. I'm doing my best, but also I sniff a lot because of cold and whatever, probably because I smoke and whatever. But I'm not snorting anything. Okay, just so you know. Let me just go and blow my nose in the fireplace. Yeah, and I turned the heater off as well, so it's not humming in the background while I'm videoing. So yeah, this was made from a 1 inch Stanley chisel, and kind of a little bit like the Griffiths maybe there in the blade profile. This doesn't feel like it's very sharp, but it'll plow. Yeah. And it's cool. That's an axe handle. I made that, and still working on the handle forever. This is the 1/2 inch Stanley chisel, made into a kind of a Japanese style carpentry knife. This was the same as this, the 3/4 inch. It's made from a 3/4 inch, and this was my tester knife. So this, I threw it into a board maybe 20 times. It stuck in, it flew out, it bounced, it hit the ground, it hit rocks, whatever. I stuck it in a tree and pried it. I hammered it into a tree and stepped on it. I batoned it through various types of metal stock, which then later incurred me regrinding it quite significantly to get it back to a functional knife. Because in the end, on the mild steel 1/8 inch rod, it did kind of fold. So this Stanley chisel steel, one thing I can say for it is very tough, and it will take a screaming edge. Like I saw this Gerst video where he gets the kitchen paper roll and goes zh and does, and that is, when I saw that I was like, man, that's next level. But of course, since then I've been trying, and with this knife, I achieved, because I just put the time into that bevel. Yeah. Now, how long it would actually hold that edge, but I'll tell you what, I got this thing up and running. And as I was kind of, I would wet the handle or oil the handle and then wait for it to dry out a little bit and sand it. And in the meantime, I could use it. And I picked up this blank. oak to make a bokken. Yeah. And I basically, this was nothing. This was like the vague shape in a splintery thing. This had been stuck out in the garden, by the way, as a I don't know, something in the garden. And it's seasoned out there, and look, it's even got this like for the handle. That's in the grain. See, this little piece. I can't show the whole thing, right? But yeah, did all this whittling with this. Yeah, and just for the purposes of the video, I even grabbed a handful of because I can't demonstrate. I have to make another video later, right? On this tabletop style thing right now, I can't demonstrate the power. Yeah, but here are just some of the curls and whatever that I removed doing that. Yeah, look at the quality of that. Look at the kind of that's proper stock removal of seasoned, dry, crusty red oak. Dry, yeah. Not kind on an edge. Very tough whittling. Oh, let me grab that piece of paper. This is a fun piece of paper too. It's weird. It's this kind of, is it sharp? Isn't it? But when you whittle with it, and so I will mention again my theory, right? That in the 1980s, Stanley, when they decided to make a woodworking chisel for the buying public, they probably did pick a steel and a heat treatment to go with it, right? And so I think they're good. I think it's a good steel to make yourself a little whittling knife. And so I wanted to mention the harmonic thing. Some honorable mentions, but my friend Vinny the blacksmith showed me this, right? And maybe this is, sometimes I wonder whether that might not be messing with your point a little bit, but I'm hooked on it. And you know what I noticed? I just noticed that I'm filming this video sideways. That's very annoying because I don't have the means to make it go right way up now that it's such a long video. So I'm sorry for that. Now you're watching this whole video sideways, if you're watching it at all, which you are if you're watching it. Hear that? La, 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 la. Perfect octave. Perfect octave. Now tell me, this one, why does this one sound dead? Is it because I stressed it so much? Is it because I killed it? Or is it because there's not much handle to it? The pins, maybe? Deadening the sound? I don't know. Honorable mentions. The Tops pry knife, used that to split this. Very nice thing to have here on the butcher block. That will pretty much go through anything, I guess, that isn't really, really hard. And might sharpen it upon occasion. We did mention the Sodbuster Junior. Some other small blades I used a little bit in this project. Little tiny blades. This is a budget one. Sencut Teisho. I love the design. Now the steel is not great, I guess. it's okay. But the design is brilliant. It is actually really comfortable to hold in your hand and use to cut stuff. You can't put a lot of power into the blade through such little handle, but for small whittling tasks and stuff, and this blade shape is very useful. Very handy wee knife. Good for a neck knife as well. Just absolute retention and, so little weight. A dog will grab it and yank it out. That's it. The Mini Mongoose by Jerry Moen. Badly scratched up by yours truly. Back in the day, a couple of years ago, when I acquired this thing. I wanted performance. And you can see like this it was a hollow grind and it was just so thick behind the edge. It wasn't really, for self-defense or something, or opening a package, you could get away with it. But, I wanted to use this thing. And this whittles. However, the handle is dainty, right? So again, you just can't get a really good, solid, all-day grip on this handle. Yeah, but this handle. Oh, honorable mentions. The Dragon's Tooth from Ragweed Forge. A really awesome broaching tool. Not that I've seen that many, but I have seen broaching tools that were, handmade by some special dude. You have to call him up, and I reckon this would compete with that. I mean, the story I'm telling is of one I saw ever, but apart from that, the broaching tools I've seen are whatever I can come up with, and that one I just showed you. But this handle, okay, because you're watching it this way. Let me come around here and look at things from your perspective. And I'm really sorry about the camera orientation, but I just had to mess it up. You see everything anyway, right? I guess we could be sitting around a table and you could be sat at any side of the table and you could be watching what I'm showing, right? So it doesn't make such a difference. I'm just shocked that I got that far in and then I realized, camera orientation, not what I wanted. Yikes. I'm not going to repeat this one. It's gone on too long. I could never repeat. So yeah, this had the crack in it from the start, but it's hard to find pieces without cracks. And, it also had this, that was hollow and eaten out, but I figured I could incorporate that. And indeed, one thing that Fimble, or a couple of things that Fimble said about his knife that weren't so, that were, he was critiquing his thing, was the blade steel. So maybe I could have made a slight improvement, certainly in terms of the stock thickness and therefore the comfort of the thumb on the spine, right? Better on this. Indexing. So because his design is like a bottle, totally symmetrical. And no guard, because as he pointed out, guards get in the way when you want to do bushcrafty type tasks or whatever you want to call it, right? When you want to use the knife in all positions dynamically, because you're not just gripping tight on it to do one thing. However, I have noted in my experience that a little tiny suggestion of a guard doesn't get in the way, especially if you thin it out here, right? You don't keep this rectangular, you got to bring it in there. And also, when you have something like this, I think it's good for it not to be too chunky. So yeah, kind of like on that Sheffield knife. I went for this kind of suede vibe, but also went for a kind of a sway back. So if you look, see, we're not symmetrical in this orientation or in that orientation, because there's, the curves are doing something slightly different. What can I say? How can I describe it? I just wanted to make it, and this also gives you indexing. Right? If you can feel it this way or that way. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about it. What can I say? You could probably tell. I made a knife. It's something I've often felt like I wanted to be able to do, was just make a knife in a day. Now, admittedly, I didn't do much else in the day, but with experience, I got to be able to do this in 24 hours. Make this, and actually, I think that I could go ahead and make 2 in 24 hours, or what have you. And also, obviously, you could get the polish perfect or what have you. This is fairly perfunctory, but I tarried over it because I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional. I have just rinky-dink equipment. But let me tell you that my experience of carving on this whole thing here was positive. For one thing, the blade really performed. I did stop to maintain it. It didn't. I had to, do some honing, some sharpening, and what have you. But the handle, which is the idea that really comes from Mr. Fimble. He pointed out having this kind of notion here, and that plus, I guess this old Sheffield ski and do I got there. And I think also I'd like to mention this guy over in Wales. He goes by various names, including, let me think now, Knife Nut, Schizo Knife Nut, Knife Nut, what was it? Just Kill Me, I Don't Belong Here. That was one of them. Mountain Man, very mysterious fella. He makes some knives that, like, I just want to cry when I see the knives that he makes, because they look so good. And also because, by the looks, I'll never be able to even hold on in my hands, because they're not for sale. He's just a hobby knife maker. That's another one of his many aliases. Hobby Knife Man. So, he did explain to me a little bit about his blade geometry, but more from watching videos. It's a Scandi grind with a steep angle, and he uses a micro bevel. I just kind of convex. And also, I should shout out William Collins, because, I don't know if I'm shouting out. I'm not going to link William Collins and try and make him watch this whole video, but maybe I'll make a short and tag him, because he calls this a woodsman's grind, and I like that name. And so what that being, it's like a Scandi grind, but you have a distal taper, and so you get this kind of smile on the bevel there. I can, in fact, show. Here we go. A William Collins Sloyd knife in Magna Knut steel with ironwood and a woodsman's grind. Well, we're all coming along. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.